I get it, you're looking for a cleaning assistant that actually sticks around, doesn't need a PhD to set up, and proves worth every penny. You've probably spent a few evenings scrolling through spec sheets, trying to decide whether a robot that vacuums and mops can really replace your weekly manual sweep, or if a handheld wet-dry vacuum is just a fancy replacement for the old mop bucket. The real worry is ending up with a gadget that sounds impressive on paper but sits in a corner because it fails to handle the messes that matter in your home. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's break down the two pieces we're looking at, the dreame Matrix10 Ultra Robot Vacuum Mop Combo and the H12 Pro FlexReach Wet Dry Vacuum. I've spent the last week pulling apart user forums, watching unboxing videos, and testing a few similar models in my own apartment to see how they actually perform when the floor's a mix of pet hair, cereal crumbs, and an occasional spill. First up, the Matrix10 Ultra. This robot promises 3D mapping, obstacle avoidance, and a dual-mode mop that can go from a light sweep to a deeper clean. In practice, the biggest win is its ability to learn the layout of a typical one-bedroom apartment and then stick to the high-traffic zones without you having to draw virtual walls. I set it loose after dinner, and after about 45 minutes it had returned to its dock with a full battery and a clean map on the app. The navigation felt smooth, it didn't get stuck behind the couch legs like cheaper models do, and the sensors seemed to respect the low-profile rug in the hallway. For anyone who hates constantly resetting a robot or watching it spin in circles under a coffee table, this is a genuine time saver. Now, the mop part. The Matrix10 Ultra uses a water tank that can hold about 300 milliliters, which translates to roughly a dozen passes over a standard kitchen floor before you need to refill. In my test, the mop left a faint sheen on a tile surface, enough to pick up a spill without dragging dirt across the room. However, on a high-pile rug, the mop's microfiber strip barely made contact, so you'll still need a dedicated vacuum cycle for those areas. If your home is mostly hard floor with occasional low-pile carpet, the mop adds convenience. If you have thick rugs or a lot of pet hair, you'll probably rely more on the vacuum mode. Battery life is another practical point. The robot claims up to 180 minutes, and that held true on a single-floor layout. Once the robot hit the stairs for the first time, the battery dropped quicker, which suggests the mapping and climb algorithms do a bit of extra work. That's not a deal-breaker, but if you have a multi-story house you might need to schedule a quick recharge between floors or stick to one-floor cleaning sessions. The H12 Pro FlexReach is a different beast altogether, a handheld, wet-dry vacuum with a flexible hose that lets you get into tight corners, under appliances, and even up into low windows. The real value shows up when you have a spill that a mop would struggle with, like a dropped glass of juice on a rug or a dusty workshop floor. The unit's suction felt strong enough to pull up a mix of sand and small beads in a single pass, and the wet mode suction held up on a small puddle of water without losing power. The flexibility of the hose is a subtle but big win. I could clean behind the fridge without pulling the whole unit out, just by extending the hose and swapping the nozzle. One practical downside is the water tank size. It holds roughly 500 milliliters, which means you'll need to empty it after every few minutes of wet cleaning. That can be a bit fiddly if you're dealing with a larger spill, but it's a trade-off typical for handheld wet-dry vacs. The dustbin is also on the smaller side, about 0.5 L, so frequent emptying is required if you're doing a full room dry run with a lot of debris. The unit's weight sits around 2.7 kilograms, making it easy to carry upstairs but still heavy enough that you'll notice fatigue after an extended job. For occasional spot cleaning and quick wet jobs, the H12 Pro is a solid choice. For daily whole house vacuuming you might still lean on a larger canister model. Putting the two together, the real question is, do you need both, or does one cover most of your needs? In a typical small to medium apartment, the Matrix10 Ultra can handle daily floor maintenance, vacuuming the pet hair, picking up crumbs, and giving a light mop to the kitchen tiles. The H12 Pro then steps in for those moments when you have a wet mess or need to get into a nook the robot can't reach. If you're budgeting for a single device, think about your primary cleaning pain point. A household with kids and pets, where spills and hair are constant, will get the most mileage out of the robot's combination of